Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in. Today I'm going to be making a really simple but delicious fall recipe. It is braised lamb shanks and I'm going to be cooking it in a red wine sauce. So lamb shanks are the bottom part of a leg of lamb. They're pretty cheap, they're not expensive cuts of meat, but you have to braise them in order for them to be tender. So it's kind of a tough piece of meat. You have to braise it in liquid slowly to get that tenderness. But once it is done, it's a really delicious dish. So here's the ingredients. I have 4 lamb shanks here, and I got these just from the meat market. And I removed the fat, well, most of the fat. You do want a little bit of fat for the searing. And I seasoned it really simply with salt, black pepper, and garlic powder. So no exotic seasonings. You really want the flavors of the other ingredients to shine through. And I just seasoned on both sides. As you can see, I made slits in the meat because it is a thick cut of meat, so you want the braising liquid to penetrate into it. So here's the other ingredients I'm going to be using. I've got 1 red onion and 1 yellow onion that I've roughly cut. Got some carrots. I've got 2 tomatoes, and I just cut those large. I've got 2 green onions or scallions. I've got some thyme, some rosemary, about 6 or 7 cloves of garlic, and a bunch of cilantro, which what I did with the cilantro was I tied it up so it doesn't break up too much in the sauce. I'm going to be using a little bit of lemon, a little salt, a little adobo, paprika for seasoning. I've got beef broth, and I am going to be using, today I'm going to be using cooking wine. I usually would use regular drinking wine. It's better to use that, but I just didn't feel like going to the liquor store, so I just bought cooking wine from the grocery store. A dash of Worcestershire, and I'm going to be using just a little bit of cornstarch to thicken my sauce. So let's go ahead and get started. I did forget to add that I'll be using a teaspoonful of tomato paste as well. So over here I have my cast iron skillet, which I added a little bit of vegetable oil, and we're going to be searing the lamb shanks in there. We're not going to be cooking them, just searing them to get a nice coating and color. And I preheated my oven to 375 because we're going to end up braising this in the oven. So just bear with me because I am both the cook and the videographer today. So you just want to place your shanks in the hot pan. You want to hear that crisp, that sizzle. You want to see that smoke going up. And we're going to sear these for about 5 minutes on each side. Alright, as you can see, I flipped it to the other side, and the meat is starting to get a nice crust on it, which is what you want in a sear. You want to try to sear it on all sides if possible. And the searing just helps to keep the flavor in the meat when you go to braise it. So I'm going to go ahead and sear the rest of the meat off camera, and then come back and make the sauce and put it in the oven. Alright, our lamb shanks are all braised. I set them aside on a platter, and I'm going to be working on the sauce. So what I did is I took the cooking oil from the braising, the pan that I was, what I did was I took the cooking oil from the pan I was searing in, and I put it into my pot. And I'm just going to clear it of these little black things that are on the bottom here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off by frying our onions and green onions. So just going to throw those in. Just want to give that a quick stir. Let those fry up for a second. I'm going to throw in the green onions and the garlic. These are just the aromatics. we're frying up to release the flavor. We don't really want to cook them too much. Next, I'm going to be adding my tomatoes, my fresh tomatoes. Stirring those up. I'm just going to season my vegetables a little bit. I don't want to over season because I'm going to be adding beef broth. So, adding some paprika. Sorry, I'm trying to hold the camera and open my seasoning. A little bit of adobo. Just about a teaspoon, I would estimate. And then we're going to stir that up. Looking pretty good so far. Next, I'm going to add my tomato paste. A teaspoonful of tomato paste. And just mix that in. And it's already starting to get very fragrant. And I haven't even added the herbs yet. I'm gonna add the carrots. Throw those in there. And these are just baby carrots. Maybe about 10 or 15. You don't have to add that many. I just like the carrots. So go ahead and mix. And you want to give that about 3 or 4 minutes. Okay, so it's been about 3 minutes. And now I'm going to add my braising liquids. So I'm going to use the whole packet of beef broth. This is a 32-ounce store brand, nothing special beef broth. You can also use vegetable stock if you want, or chicken broth. I'm just using beef broth. It has a deeper flavor that I want to add to the lamb. You want to do that, and you want to stir. And now I'm going to add about 2 or 3 splashes of Worcestershire sauce. Again, I really like Worcestershire sauce. If you're not a fan of it, it's fine to leave it out. Alright, and then I'm going to be adding my cooking wine. Like I said, it's better to use regular red wine, but this is what I have on hand. So, I'm going to start off by pouring in about 1/4 of the bottle. To see how far it gets me. I may end up using the whole thing. Yeah, I think I'm going to use the whole bottle. Because I do want the braising liquid to cover my lamb shanks. Alright, now I'm going to add my herbs. Add my cilantro. I know some people don't like cilantro. You can use regular parsley. I just love the flavor of cilantro. Throw in my thyme and a little bit of rosemary. I usually use more rosemary, but that's all I happen to have today on hand. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to squeeze the half a lemon that I have into the sauce. I'm going to do it off camera because I think there's seeds in this lemon. I'm not able to squeeze and hold the camera, so I'll be right back. Alright, so as you can see, my braising liquid has come to a full boil, and that's what you want. And what I did off camera was I adjusted it for seasoning. I added a little bit of salt, and since I like spicy food, I added a half of a habanero pepper. You don't have to do that, if you don't want your food spicy. What I'm going to do now is, remember the cornstarch that I had? I took about a half a teaspoon of cornstarch, and then I added, this is about, oh, I want to say a third cup of hot water, and I just mixed it. And this is going to help to thicken up my sauce. And you just want to put it in there. Alright, I just want to give it one good stir. Then you want to add your meat into the liquid. You want to submerge your meat. Alright, and that's, again, this is 4 lamb shanks. You want to try to make sure your meat gets under all of the liquid. I'm just gonna put the juices in that were on the plate just to make sure that is full flavor. So it's come to a full boil. What I'm gonna do now, you want to make sure it's at a full boil before you turn, before you turn your heat off and put it in the oven. This is a 375-degree oven. I'm going to cover this with foil, and I'm going to raise it in the oven for 2 hours. I'm gonna check it at the 2-hour mark. We might have to go 2.5, but we're gonna start off with 2. And you want to kind of make sure that you get relatively same sized lamb shanks so that they, cook evenly. So I'm gonna go ahead and cover it. We'll do that off camera and put it in the oven, and we'll check on it in about 2 hours. Alright guys, right now we're at the 1.5-hour point. So it's been cooking for 1.5 hours in the oven. I've uncovered it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to raise my temperature to 425, I'm sorry. I'm gonna raise it to 425 and give it half an hour uncovered. Alright guys, so our braised lamb shank is out of the oven. Had it in there for an additional 30 minutes. So total 1.5 hours in the oven, 1 hour covered, 30 minutes uncovered. After the final 30 minutes, when it came out of the oven, my sauce was not as thick as I wanted it to be. So what I did was I put it on the stovetop. First I removed, the thyme and all the greens. Put it on the stovetop for about 15 minutes on high heat just to thicken my sauce. And now you can see it's got a nice thick gravy. So I'm going to go ahead and plate this up so you guys can see what I'm pairing it with. You can pair it, honestly, with anything you want. You could eat it by itself. It's just a really simple, delicious meal. Just give me a minute and I'll plate it up. Alright guys, so I have paired this lamb shank today with some wax beans, the carrots that were cooked in the sauce, and some red beans with bulgur wheat. And so, you could pair it with rice, whatever you want. Today I just chose to do the bulgur because I felt like eating it. And this is it. I hope you guys enjoy this dish. Leave some comments. Let me know how it turns out for you. Let me know if you changed anything, if you added anything. And just enjoy. Until next time, stay blessed and stay hungry.